Hey toy fans, D21 Beast Rob here, ready to talk about what else but New York Toy Fair 2017. This is a big holiday, I guess you could call it, for toy collectors, and we talked about this last year on my channel, and if you guys have been collecting for a while, you're probably every bit as excited for this event as I am each year. Now let me give a little bit of a disclaimer here. As of my recording, I'm sure there's stuff out there that hasn't yet been announced, or pictures that haven't yet gone online, so I can't really talk about that stuff since I don't know about it yet. In fact, just before I hit the record button, I noticed that Mattel unveiled a King Shark action figure, which looks absolutely cool, although honestly, it's probably going to have standard Mattel articulation and not be that great, but I'm just saying, things are rolling out every second, so I'm going to talk about what I already know about, and more specifically, the stuff that has some sort of relevance or interest to me. I can't cover every single thing. The first thing I want to cover is a line of figures from Playmates that I haven't exactly been thrilled with, but apparently we're getting more. We're getting some more WWE TMNT crossover action figures. Those are the 6-inch scale figures that basically are made to look or sort of ape the design of popular wrestlers. We're going to be getting a Finn Balor Leonardo, a Rock Raphael, an Ultimate Warrior Donatello, and a Rowdy Roddy Piper Michelangelo. I've shared my piece on these figures before, I really don't get it, but I suppose my real problem with this line is that we're getting 4 more Ninja Turtle figures in wrestling attire, and Playmates hasn't moved on to the side characters or even villains. I mean, why did Mikey have to be Rowdy Roddy Piper? Why not Casey Jones? Or if you wanted to make a wrestler based off The Rock, why not use a Trag from Ninja Turtle lore? This line is full of so many missed opportunities, but Playmates did impress me with another line of costume turtles coming out this fall, and I don't have the official name for it, but let's call it the Universal Monsters Ninja Turtles. We received a line similar to this back in the classic Ninja Turtles line. Looks like we're going to be getting a Werewolf Mikey, a Mummy Leonardo, a Frankenstein Donatello, that has to be my favorite of the 4, and even a Vampire Raphael. But that wasn't the biggest surprise that got me excited from Playmates. It looks like we're going to be getting Usagi Yojimbo. I love Stan Sakai's comic book series. I was even lucky enough to buy a trade from the man himself when I visited San Diego Comic-Con a few years ago. But this is a character that's had a history of crossing over with the Ninja Turtles, which probably means we're going to get some episodes featuring Usagi coming up, but this prototype figure has me really excited. Now the rest of the turtle line throughout 2017 seems a bit hit or miss for me. You can see in the upper left we do seem to be getting some samurai-themed Ninja Turtle figures, and while they're not pictured here, I believe in the case of Donatello and Raphael, they're even coming with horses. Very reminiscent of Ninja Turtles 3, is it not? If you look to the upper right, we also seem to be getting a classic disguised Ninja Turtle Leonardo figure. And if you look in the lower left, it looks like we're getting Muckman finally, although I'll believe it when he's finally on store shelves. Otherwise, I'm a bit disappointed with Ninja Turtle figures for the rest of the year. It seems like Playmates is going to largely focus on repaints of previously released action figures. I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with this if they retooled some of the figures a bit, but it looks like they are just straight up repaints. Kind of lazy. I'm not going to be picking up any of these repaints, but the good news is, with all the money I'm saving from not buying Playmates figures, I'll have more than enough money to pick up all of Diamond Select's recently announced classic Ninja Turtle Minimate figures, and I love the look of these things. The image here shows Casey Jones, a Foot Soldier, April, Bebop, Leonardo, Donatello, and Shredder, but we're also going to be getting Raphael, Krang, and more characters from the classic cartoon. I am so excited for these things. But for every step forward Diamond Select seems to make, they also seem to take a few steps back. Enter the Ghostbusters II line of Diamond Select figures. Man, I was really excited for Diamond Select's Ghostbusters 1 figures. I even reviewed a few of them, but I was just unimpressed with the execution. And honestly, I'm surprised the figures sold well enough to support another line of action figures. But here we go. Diamond Select is doing Ghostbusters 2. It's pretty cool that we're going to get a Janusz with a portrait of Vigo and even a Vigo figure. But now they're trying to do a Build a Firehouse diorama? I mean, that sounds really cool, but I just don't know that I'll be able to invest. But hey, if they make a Ghostbusters Louis Tully, they might get 20 bucks out of me. Now, if you want to talk about Ghostbusters figures that I'm excited for, but likely won't be able to afford, Mezco has actually released a line of Ghostbusters with full cloth outfits in their 112 collector line. And I've gotta say, these things look really cool. And overall, the likenesses even seem to be a bit better than what we got with Diamond Select recently. If Mezco wants to send me some review samples, I'll happily share my address. But back to Diamond for a bit, they seem to be going full on with their Vinimates line of figures. And, you know, Vinimates don't really work for me. They're mostly static figures, they're a little bit taller than Minimates, but I just don't see the appeal personally. But it looks like they have a full army of figures for Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, Nightmare Before Christmas, Pirates of the Caribbean, Iron Giant, and so many more. Your mileage may vary a bit, but for me, I'm looking most forward to this line for the 4-inch Stay Puft figure. I've got a feeling he's going to display really nicely with my Ghostbusters I Love This Town box set I picked up a few years ago. Also, I'm really hoping Diamond decides to give us a Sentinel or Giant Man figure in the Vinimates line, so we can pose them with our Minimate figures and actually have some tall characters. I think that'd be really cool. Speaking of comic Vinimates, before Toy Fair kicked off, Diamond actually tweeted out that they're doing Watchmen Vinimates. But the fact that Diamond Select is actually touching DC properties again with their Minimate line, sort of, made me wonder if we're actually going to be getting comic book DC Minimate figures again in the future. So I tweeted at them. Unfortunately, they tweeted back at me though that the license for the comic book DC characters is different from the movie-based characters. So I assumed that was it and we weren't going to get any more. And then today at Toy Fair they revealed more DC Vinimates based off the movies and the Berlanti television universe. So I'm not sure how that licensing works exactly, but if they can make Vinimates of the TV and movie properties, maybe we can actually get some Minimates in that scale? I mean, we do have Gotham Minimates after all. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Now, when it comes to Marvel Minimates, Diamond Select once again showed off the Series 72. I'm going to go ahead and call it a Wolverine-based wave of Minimate figures. I know that could be considered a stretch with Spiral and Mojo included, but we do get some Hand Ninjas and Lady Deathstrike. I love that Weapon X Wolverine minifigure. Silver Samurai looks great, and the Battle Damage Wolverine looks awesome. And from the photos on the floor, unfortunately I don't have any good ones to show you guys, but from the photos on the floor I was able to see that Wolverine's battle damaged uniform, at least from the waist up, isn't printed detail. That's a separate piece that slides onto the minifigure, which I think is a really nice touch. Anyway, we knew that these things were coming. It was just cool to see pictures from the show floor. But Diamond did actually bring Minimates for Spider-Man Homecoming. So far, I think we've only seen just a Peter Parker Minimate and a Vulture, and the wings for Vulture are just enormous. They, of course, showed off their Guardians Minimates that we already knew about. We actually saw that they're going to be doing Iron Fist Minimates, but then we did get a good look at what is presumably a Luke Cage box set. And this box set includes Cottonmouth, Luke himself, Misty Knight, and Senator, Alfre Woodard. I can't remember her character name. I really like the Luke in this box set, though. Looks like we get an experimentation Luke, and then we get him in his classic hoodie from the television series. I really wish, though, that we got a silk shirt that we could put on our Luke Cage figure. That would have been really awesome. But maybe they're saving that for another set. Moving on from Diamond Select to another popular independent toy company, we've got some NECA showings. I was really hoping we'd see the announcement of a John Connor figure for their Terminator 2 line, and I just don't think they're going to be doing that. I don't know why. Maybe there's a rights issue or something. I'd also like to see Miles Dyson, but perhaps I'm in the minority on that front. NECA did, however, show us a Batman vs. Predator and a Superman vs. Alien set. And of course, these two packs are inspired by those classic DC Comics / Dark Horse Comics crossover books from the 90s. I really like the look of that Batman. I wasn't very big on the armored Batman from Batman v Superman, but for some reason this design actually is really working for me. NECA also had one more figure 2-pack to show off with an amazing display piece that I don't think they're actually selling. But we've got Batman versus a Joker-themed alien figure. There's something seriously wrong with how natural of a fit a Xenomorph and Joker makeup is. Then we move on to Bandai. They had a lot to explain at this year's Toy Fair, and they did it, but I'm really disappointed with the answer. But let's start with the good. We've got our first look at the Legacy Zeo Ranger figures, and they all look amazing. Their accessories are painted very nicely. They're not coming with their Zeo power weapons, but for me that's no biggie because I don't really associate their weapons with them, if that makes any sense. Not like I do with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and their weapons. We also get a look at the Zeo Megazord, and overall the thing looks pretty decent, but if you look in the back, around the waist where the Taurus head is, it seems like it's missing some paint, so I don't know if that's just, kind of a prototype figure that's not fully painted or what the full plan is there. But overall, I'm happy with the look of the figures. All of them look great, and I'll probably try to add all of them to my collection this year. But now we have to move on to sort of an ugly issue. If you look on the left side of this photo, you'll see what look like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers with their power weapons. Yay! Except those are actually re-releases of figures. Bandai is going to re-release the 5 original Mighty Morphin Rangers with the metallic finish. It's kind of hard to tell in the photo, but it's a little glittery. And that's how you're going to get the power weapons. You'll have to buy all 5 Rangers again at $20 a piece to get the power weapons of those figures. What a scam! This couldn't have been a last-minute decision. Bandai had to have this planned the whole time. And for a line that seems to live and die by the collector's willingness to buy action figures, I can't believe that they would slap us in the face by making us buy all the Mighty Morphin Rangers again, just to get their power weapons. I'm very disappointed in this decision. I will not be buying these figures. And that really sucks because I really wanted the weapons for my Mighty Morphin Rangers. Now, if you do pick up these figures, it's worth noting the weapons don't combine. And that's probably because Bandai's going to find another way to sell you these 5 figures again, just so you can get a combined Power Blaster. And if I sound like I'm bitter, it's because I am. Also, if you check out the YouTube channel MMPR Toys, Bandai exclusively showed Bruno and Mia behind closed doors a brand new Rita Repulsa figure. Mostly brand new. It appears to be an upscaled version of the 4-inch Rita we got several years ago. Now initially I thought this was for the Legacy line and I was super excited, but it appears to actually be a 5-inch figure designed for a Walmart exclusive 2-pack that will feature the new Elizabeth Banks Rita Repulsa figure. Now I was curious if I bought that 2-pack just to get the Rita figure, how she'd stack up against my Legacy figures. So I stood my Legacy Red Ranger next to the classic 90s X-Men Beast figure from Toy Biz, which stands right at 5 inches. And as you can see, Rita Repulsa is going to be pretty short. Now for comparison, I've also included the 4-inch Rita Repulsa figure, and even a 4-inch Red Ranger, just so you can see the difference in height between these figure lines. It's nice that Bandai's taking care of collectors of the 5-inch line, but I really want to see some 6.5-inch villains for these Legacy figures. Next, we've got to talk Marvel Legends. There were a lot of Legends showed off at Toy Fair this year. Has to be the most they've ever showed off at one event. Now there's a lot of pictures out there of all the figures that were announced, and in the interest of time, I'm not going to show you every one of the figures available from every single wave. So if you want to see them, check out Google. I'm sure you can find them on various sites, including all the sites I'm crediting for every photo you're watching. But the first thing we're going to talk about is the second wave of Guardians figures. All the rumors we've been hearing are true. Ex-Nilo, Death's Head 2, the alternate movie Star-Lord figure, even Mantis were all confirmed, but Mantis is apparently the Build-A-Figure for the second wave of Guardians figures, not Death's Head or Ex-Nilo like some people were predicting. And I've got to say, the Mantis they had on the floor actually looks like a pretty good figure, but if you look at the high-res production images that they put out there, it looks like Mantis's antennae on her forehead are a separate piece that plugs into the forehead, and it's very noticeable on those press images. So I'm hoping the figure looks more like the show floor sample and not the production images that they've sent out. Now, along with the Guardians Wave 2 figures, we also got the complete lineup now of the Spider-Man Homecoming wave of Marvel Legends, and all of those are exactly what we expected as well. But now we finally have an idea of what the other half of the wave looks like that's all based off of comic book figures, and I'm really happy with what we're getting. We're getting a Cosmic Spider-Man figure with 2 interchangeable heads, one that's the bearded Peter Parker head. If you guys read Spider-Verse, you know what that looks like. And we're also getting, I guess, just an alternate head that I don't recognize, where his chin is exposed and there's no facial hair. I only know Cosmic Spidey from being an alternate skin in video games, and of course from reading Spider-Verse, so if there's a guy who held the power before Spidey got it, maybe that's his head. You guys can let me know in the comments below. And there's not a lot to say about the Beetle figure. He looks really great. He actually looks bigger than I would have expected a classic Beetle figure to be, but definitely one I'm going to need to add to my collection. But the other 2 comic figures from the wave have me very excited. We're getting a Tombstone. Tombstone, of course, is one of the classic characters from the 90s Spider-Man animated series, and definitely one I want to be adding to my collection. The look of the Tombstone figure is more comic-based. I do kind of wish he had blue jeans, just because that's how he looked in the 90s animated series, but the figure looks pretty cool overall, if not a bit flat when it comes to color variety. Then we've got Moon Knight. Of course, this is a Marvel Now Moon Knight figure. Lots of sculpted detail on this figure. A lot of added parts on the forearms, and even around the waist, he's got sort of a half belt, and it's a separate molded piece, which is interesting because we just got a Havoc last year who had a paint decoed half belt around his waist. So I wonder why they made the belt accessory for this Moon Knight figure, but didn't sculpt it for the Havoc figure. If I had any complaints about the Moon Knight, it's that he's reusing that Daredevil staff. And of course, that same accessory came with Hellcat, but it's just too short to be a buck and quarter staff or, just a bow staff for somebody to wield. I wish Hasbro would have finally sculpted a longer bow staff accessory for their Legends figures and started using it with Moon Knight. If we ever get a redo of Gambit, I'm a bit worried that we're going to get that short staff for him as well. But the Spider-Man fun didn't stop there. We also have a Walmart exclusive 2-pack that was announced featuring Ultimate Vulture and then of course Ultimate Spider-Man. Now, right now it doesn't seem like we're going to be getting an interchangeable Parker head for that Ultimate Spider-Man like we did when he was single-carded. A bit of a bummer, but it's still a really good-looking Spider-Man figure. The Vulture, on the other hand, though, is a bit of a mixed bag for me. I'm really wanting a classic Vulture figure. This Ultimate Vulture figure looks really nice, don't get me wrong, and he's going to have an interchangeable masked head. But with all the work Hasbro's been putting into figures lately, we're so close to having a classic Sinister Six lineup, and this isn't exactly the right Vulture to display with the rest of those figures. Now, the next 2-pack that was announced is a bit of a curiosity. We're getting a movie Spider-Man figure, Tom Holland Spidey, and he's going to come with an interchangeable Tom Holland head. I believe this is the only way to get a Tom Holland head is buying this 2-pack. Also, and it doesn't show up in the photos, but the web lines for this costume are actually filled in with blue paint, which I find a bit interesting. But then we take a look at that Iron Man figure. Very clearly, this is the Civil War Iron Man figure, just redecoed. And initially, I thought this was just kind of a one-off thing that Hasbro was doing to give us a different Iron Man figure. But if you look at a Lego set that was also revealed this weekend, it looks like that Lego Iron Man figure is also wearing a take on the Ultimate Iron Man armor. So I guess this suit is actually going to appear in the movie? I went back and watched the trailer again, the one that has Spider-Man and Iron Man flying off at the end of it, and Iron Man doesn't appear to be wearing the Ultimate Iron Man armor at that point. So it's still up in the air whether or not this armor will actually appear in the movie, but I do find it interesting that two separate toy lines have now featured this one particular armor, this one particular recognizable armor. Hasbro also announced another 2-pack that's going to be exclusive to Toys R Us. This 2-pack features Mary Jane Watson and the newer corporate Spidey, I'm going to call him, the one from the relaunch of the comic post Secret Wars, where Spider-Man's got the glowing emblem on his chest. Now, it's really cool to finally get a Mary Jane that's not a movie-based figure, but I do find it a bit weird that she's paired up with a Spider-Man figure that really has nothing to do with Mary Jane. I do have to thank Hasbro, though, for giving us a Mary Jane figure that appears to be wearing flat-footed shoes. Thankfully, we don't have to deal with heels on this figure. And she also, curiously, seems to be reusing the Hobgoblin/Green Goblin bomb satchel, only they seem to have repurposed it into a purse. Spidey, on the other hand, appears to just be a complete reuse of the Pizza Spider-Man, with the appropriate deco to make him look like corporate Spidey. Again, really happy we're getting a Mary Jane, but perhaps a updated Mockingbird would have been a better fit for this box set. And while nothing's been announced, maybe we can get a Hobie Brown head for that Spider-Man body? And believe it or not, another 2-pack was also announced at Toy Fair, one that I am just dying to get my hands on. We are going to get a Toys R Us exclusive Dark Phoenix and Cyclops 2-pack. Now, Cyclops in this 2-pack is wearing his 1970s/1980s outfit, the skull cap look that's very classic Cyclops. He's got the Buccaneer boots. He's basically a reuse of the Bucky cap mold, which you would expect for a Cyclops figure at this point, since basically every other figure uses that mold. What I do find interesting, though, is that his gloves appear to be paint deco from the wrist to the elbow, when we actually do have a mold for flared gloves. Boomerang came with it. I just don't know why Hasbro chose to paint the gloves on. Maybe they lost the original molds or something? I don't know, I just find it really weird. But outside of that, the Cyclops figure looks really nice. The Jean Grey, on the other hand, or the Phoenix rather, she looks fantastic. Sculpt-wise, I like the mold of the figure better than what we got with the Green Phoenix figure from the Juggernaut wave. And this Phoenix figure has got flat feet, which is fantastic. I know it's not comic accurate, but I'm so tired of trying to make my Marvel Legends stand on wedges. She's also got a little Phoenix accessory that clips onto her arm, something we definitely didn't need, but is certainly a nice touch. And then Hasbro claims she's going to have 2 interchangeable heads. So presumably one's going to be a standard Jean head, and another one is going to be a Dark Phoenix head. Now, if you look in the photo, the Jean we're looking at does appear to have sort of translucent hair, which is really cool. Perhaps the other Jean will have more of a normalized face and have more of a solid hair color. I'm hoping that that head actually fits the ball peg for the Jean that we received in the Juggernaut wave. That way we can get that 90s Jean Grey head reuse off of that figure and potentially put a Jean Grey head on our Green Phoenix figure, and maybe she can actually stand a little bit better. Who knows, we'll have to see, but that's what I'm hoping for. Oh, and the box sets keep on rolling. We're actually going to be getting an A-Force box set exclusive to Toys R Us. I'm pretty sure it's going to come with an Elsa Bloodstone, Monica Rambeau, She-Hulk, Loki or Lady Loki, Sif, yay, and Singularity. This is a really cool box set. Honestly, though, I only really want the She-Hulk and the Sif from this box set. I kind of wish those would have been single-carded figures. But if you're a fan of A-Force or a fan of, the heroines of Marvel, this is a pretty cool set, except it's going to be a bit expensive. I think they were saying it was going to be $120. This is one that I think a lot of collectors are going to wait to see on clearance. Hopefully that doesn't deter box sets this large from happening again in the future. But I'm really happy to see Hasbro doing everything they can to get us every possible figure from the Marvel Universe. Now, there's one final box set. I don't have any pictures for it. We really don't even have any concrete information on it. But apparently Target is going to have a Marvel vs. Capcom themed 2-pack available sometime this year. That's curious for a few reasons. One is we don't know what Marvel vs. Capcom game it's referencing. Presumably it's going to be Infinite, since that's supposedly coming out this year. We'll see, though. We've gotten no information on that game since December 3rd. But I didn't know that Hasbro has the license to make Capcom action figures. Maybe they do, who knows, or maybe the information's just completely wrong all around. But I'm definitely intrigued by the idea. However, and this is bold prediction time, I suspect that the Marvel side of that box set is just going to be a repaint of a figure we've already received, whether it be the Wolf cap in that box set or the Captain Marvel figure from the Odin wave. Who knows though? Maybe the fact that we have nobody announced for the box set yet means that it's going to feature characters that are new to the game. Look at me getting excited over what's probably nothing. The final Marvel Legends I want to mention are the Invisible Woman and the Human Torch figures that are exclusive to Walgreens. Now, of course, we already know about the Invisible Woman. She's shown up online quite a bit, but I love the look of that Human Torch figure. Since there's no BAF in this wave, I'm really hoping that we get a flight stand for the figure, but I'm just really excited that Walgreens seems to have the exclusive on Fantastic Four figures for the year. Finally, just like Mezco last year with their 112 figures that nobody saw coming, there's a new toy company this year that I need to pay some special attention to, and I'm probably going to get their name wrong, but I believe it's QMx, and they appear to have the license for Star Trek the original series, and the movies, and even Supernatural, all things I watch. And while I'm probably never going to be able to afford any of these figures, I do appreciate them from afar. Anyway, toy fans, that's my look at Toy Fair 2017. A lot of really cool things rolling out this year, and probably more as I'm editing this video. But what do you guys think? What's your favorite of the stuff that I showed off? Or what haven't I mentioned that you guys think I should check out? Be sure to leave a link in the comments below. Thanks for joining me, guys. If you want to keep up with me, be sure to hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at D21Beast, and I'll see you guys next time.